What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Having Said That show. I'm Adi here with Sid.
Yes, Sid, not Jay today. And of course, we have Aman and my good friend and long-time podcast supporter, Rishabh, is in the studio also.
Make some noise for Rishabh.
Yeah.
I think he's been at most of our live shows. True fan, man.
True fan. Yeah. And today's episode is one that I'm really excited for because we have a guest who I've been following for a really long time. He's a historian who studied in the University of Oxford. He studied Sanskrit and Persian.
Damn.
I think he's by far the smartest guest we've had on the show. As of now, I don't know what he's doing over here, but it's fine. He is an author, a filmmaker, and his book Shattered Lands is out right now. Let's get into it. Give it up for Sam Dalrymple.
Make some noise.
Hey, good to be on the show.
Welcome, Sam. As you know, we've gotten rid of our actual co-host Jay because he would bring the level of intellectuality way too high into this room. So, in honor of him, let's go for the most controversial opinion we can get from a historian.
Controversial opinion. I feel like, everyone's like, where would you like to go to in the past? I feel like actually most of it would have been kind of shit. Because the food, imagine the food before the Columbian Exchange, before tomatoes and potatoes and chilies arrived. There was just kind of dal and meat kind of and a couple of vegetables. European food, what were the Italians eating before tomatoes? And I feel like there's no immunity to diseases. It would have just been not as good as we want it to be. Although of course if you were an elite guy living in a palace, obviously it's going to be great. But then everyone's trying to coup you. Everyone's trying to overthrow you. So I feel like we're living in a pretty good moment of all things considered.
Sure.
I agree. I think let's not even talk about the racism and sexism that came in the past.
It really depends which side of it you're on, though. You know what I mean?
This guy.
When you would have to be a dictator.
For you, let's say I know you have Scottish roots, but let's say you did have British roots and then you came back to India 100 years ago, where now your life experience is that of never having eaten a spice. And you come to India and you're rich and you're owning all of these people and you're like, I get to now eat good food as well. For you, it's a pretty good life.
I mean, where would you go to? I feel like you're going to say I would have been some bloodthirsty emperor or something.
I think as an Indian right now is probably the best time.
Yeah. I think the key is you want to go into the future, right?
Yeah.
If I could time travel, I want to see what's up next.
Yeah, but the question is in the past, right? If you have to go to some place in the past, no, then I would just go all the way back to the Jurassic type world, or see dinosaurs. I would go all the way back there.
Let's go.
Why be in this middle
It's like a suicide mission, right? Then there's no life there. You just
but
you get eaten.
To see a real dinosaur.
Sure.
You're telling me, Aman, you don't want to see a real dinosaur?
Not if it comes at the cost of my life, right?
Yeah, bro.
Sure, but okay, that's my answer.
I feel like it could have been quite fun to join the troops of Alexander the Great and just charge off into the unknown. But again, the thing is, it's not so unknown for us, right? We know where he was going.
Sure.
Obviously, for at the time, it was this grand discovery. He's some Greek dude reaches the arse. He's there's elephants, but we know what elephants are.
I think you go back to I'll go back to 2005 or something when I was growing up.
Yeah, probably that's the best.
Buy some Bitcoin. Live a good life, man.
Have a full day of just sitting on the Xbox.
Yeah, chill out a bit.
I think this question, when people ask, which era would you pop yourself into?
Yeah.
I think it's the same with travel. It's not about choosing an era that's better than today. Yeah. It's just about something that's very different. Yeah. And the point isn't to live there forever.
Yeah.
It's just to see something that you can't understand,
Hence
you can't
dinosaurs.
imagine. That's valid.
Yeah.
I don't.
Hence dinosaurs.
That's
I feel
valid.
Also those those libraries Nalanda and the Library of Alexandria and stuff, those would have been cool because obviously we've lost that knowledge.
Yeah.
It's finding something that's lost to us would be cool because I feel as we said, Alexander the Great, heading off to India, we know what's there now. There's kind of but I feel those lost libraries would have just been
that's cool.
Mad.
Nice.
So Sam, you've given us one reason to study history, and I think it came down to being appreciative for what we have on our plates, right? There's gratitude for what we're eating today. That's the first thing you said. But I'm just curious. History is a bit of it can be quite eclectic, quite highbrow, quite academic, of course. What does it mean for just the average person? Why should the average person read a little bit on history? Make a case for us. The way, you know how physics, if you understand a little bit of physics, it can make flying a lot less scary. It's a very practical reason to study physics, to just a little bit. What would your pitch be for the field that you spend most of your time in?
I think that it underlies so many of the conversations that we have every day in the world. I mean, so this book that I've written, for example, it talks about the creation of these borders that happened between the 30s and the 70s, this kind of quite distant stuff. And yet, through reading it, you kind of get the origins of so many of the conflicts of our time, everything from the Rohingya crisis to conflicts in Kashmir, to in Balochistan in Northeast India. Even Saddam Hussein's invasion of Kuwait in the Gulf War suddenly makes far more sense once you understand this story of how borders cut their way through, the landscape that was once the British Raj. And there's so many things like this. It helps us understand why we've reached these conflicts that plague our world today. But also, beyond that, I mean, so this is the book that I've written. But I think that it makes the world more interesting and more fun. The small little thing like the plane thing, suddenly now when I walk around Delhi, for example, and I see some old gumbad or mosque or old temple, when you know a bit of the context, you suddenly start to read buildings in a way that you kind of, you're like, oh, okay, this must be from that era. And you see stories emerge from the landscape around you in a way that otherwise you wouldn't. Once you just understand a vague bit of thing that this arch means that it must come from this century, or kind of, this style only emerged here. Suddenly you begin to place individual buildings within this kind of grand narrative that's rather fascinating. And it makes, wandering around your own city feel like an adventure, feel like you're going on holiday. And so it's little things like that. And also the past is wild. And I feel like particularly in Indian history, it's so much more globalized and crazy than I think the rather stolid nationalist narratives that we grew up with in our textbooks are. I was just reading, literally yesterday, I was reading about the giraffe that the Sultan of Bengal gifted the Emperor of China in the 1400s. And I'm like, how did he get a giraffe? And the moment that you start to think about that, the Sultan of Bengal is gifting a giraffe to the Emperor of China, it just places that era into so much more of a kaleidoscopic, colorful era than I think that we often give these things credit for. Today we see these kind of run down stone buildings, and we forget how colorful and crazy these times were.
Yeah, I think what's cool about history, and like you're saying, it contextualizes things today and makes things today more interesting, but also I think everyone's interested in something, and everything has some sort of history. So whether it's the history of the internet, or history of your favorite football team, or history of the food you eat, or whatever, right? It's just so fascinating, and by the end of it, you're just yeah, I enjoy this so much more because I know that, this pulse or this spice came from here, or this word came from here, etc. Right? When I was growing up, I got super into just I was a big fan of Shakespeare, not because I probably understood his plays at 10, but because I just liked his life story, right? And what was around it, and the mystery of did he actually write his plays or not? And seeing this is what was happening in England at the time, and that's why it makes sense that he wrote this play at this time, right? And so then when I ended up studying them in school, it was more interesting. Or I feel like I should bring this up. Your dad's book, The Age of Kali, saved me through a lot of college essays, because I studied it in school in my IB, and there was one chapter called Finger Licking Bad about these riots in Bangalore over KFC opening, and that chapter is etched in my memory. So oftentimes during college exams, I would somehow reference that chapter in my writing, and it make me seem way more well informed than I really was. And but something just as small as that, the history of fast food chains in India, right, was so fascinating to me and helped me contextualize a lot of modern India today. So I think that's why you should just learn about the things you like. And
I guess the tie-in to history that was the biggest failure for us in Indian academic situation was that it is a tool of storytelling. It is not really an academic, like a function of events. It is like a tool for storytelling, which is what makes, Sam, your journey a bit more interesting to me, because even though you had this background in academia, you pivoted to wanting to tell stories around history because you feel like that would be way more moving to the public. And you took up a project called Project Dastaan, where you actually, do you want to explain that to the audience who may not know?
No, so Project Dastaan basically came out of my college days in the UK, when there was this kind of strange realization that, like, in the UK we were able to sit down with like a Brit, like an Indian friend, a Pakistani friend, and a Bangladeshi friend, all in the same room in a way that kind of is tragically impossible within the subcontinent itself. And like, it's absurd that it can only really happen in the country of the subcontinent's former colonizer. Like, it's fucked. But my friend Sparsh and our friend Amina had this kind of crazy realization that Sparsh's ancestral home, that was like lost to him because his family migrated from modern day Pakistan at Partition, like, you know, was actually just a 2-hour drive for Amina. And likewise, like, Amina would talk with this sense of longing about this ancestral lost homestead called Hoshiarpur. And, you know, for someone, for Sparsh living in Delhi, that's like a few hours train. Like, he's never really thought of going to Hoshiarpur, you know, like it's, and it's a kind of tragedy that these, that despite being the largest forced migration in history, there is no right to return. People cannot see their ancestral homelands. And so we set about using virtual reality to reconnect people to their old havelis, mandirs, masjids, gurdwaras, their old schools, their old sweet shops, whatever it is they want to be reconnected with on the other side. So a couple of people we managed to reconnect with childhood friends, or kind of, you know, long lost neighbors and that kind of thing, which was very moving. And I mean, we did this for about 5 years. It was going on, the project, and we and it's amazing how much still, like, despite having kind of wrapped up in 2022, that there's still so much audience for this stuff, because I think it's a story that is so common across not just the subcontinent but across the world. The sense of, you know, we're living in an age of resurgent borders and like resurgent nationalism. And so I think it's something that kind of hits deep for people.
Could this be something that could go even beyond, like, our partition, because there are so many displaced people around the world right now, people who've, say, moved from other conflict-ridden regions like Afghanistan or Syria, and now they're in different parts of the world. Could this translate into even those nationalities and for them? I'd
love that. I mean, the thing that we found difficult with this was obviously funding, because we had to apply for all sorts of like international grants and a lot of it was donation based. So we had a Kickstarter at one point. Since then, we've gone on to kind of, you know, take it around various museums, and that's helped kind of reimburse some of the costs. But it was essentially, I think that the virtual reality aspect proved to be quite labor heavy and expensive to get these headsets to people where they're from. And we also didn't want it to just be something that, like, you know, a paid service that only rich people can kind of pay to go back home. So there were definitely the kind of the model. I don't think we've got figured out quite yet, but the basic idea, I think, absolutely. And I think, you know, there are so many countries with similar borders, I think, but I think what's unique about this one is that it's possible for foreigners to travel both sides relatively easy in a way that, for example, North and South Korea, not possible. You know, like, you could do all sorts of filming in South Korea, but there's no way you can, even if you have like a local team in North Korea, like, that's not even possible.
It's not possible,
Whereas this is what's unique about the situation here, I guess, is that, like, there is the most militarized wall in the world. The only border, the only wall that can be seen from space is not the Great Wall of China, it's the India-Pakistan border. It's the most militarized wall on the planet Earth, and yet it's kind of, you know, like, it's possible through technology and through like Instagram and stuff, you know, like, people on both sides of this border can communicate now in a strange sort of way, but they can't go there.
It is interesting. I actually made a short documentary in film school about this very thing, because it was about how like my college cricket team was made up of just Indians and Pakistanis, and they were all best friends, and at the same time they were playing like a match back home, tensions were high, and it was just like when you're growing up in India, you sort of see, you look at, you don't even think that, oh, I would meet someone from Pakistan, and when we're both in like this strange land, I guess, that unlike where we've grown up, you understand there's so many similarities because you sort of came from the same place, right?
I think it's unique, again, that despite having nuclear warheads pointing at each other's country, Indians and Pakistanis are always best mates abroad. They're always listening to the same music, eating the same food. That's not the case with like Israelis and Palestinians, right? Like that's not the case with like the other great like tension zones in the world. And so it is something that, again, I like, despite all the craziness, despite like even like the war we had in May and like continued tensions, I'm still hopeful that on a people to people level, there is still that kind of personability, even if the kind of political leaders and military are constantly undermining any sense of peace.
It's fascinating. Cool. I mean, for this, you lived, I was reading the back of the book as well, but you lived in Pakistan for a while, right? And for this book, I imagine you had to do a lot of research across the subcontinent. What was that experience like? And again, like you said, very unique because you grew up in India, but you have the ability to travel to all these other places that most Indians don't.
So I worked with I did an internship with the Aga Khan Foundation, like a summer gig for a couple months, based in Lahore and Hunza, which was extraordinary. And the most bizarre thing about Lahore is that it is almost exactly Delhi, and it was something that I like struggled to communicate with people until finally my co-founder Sparsh managed to get a Pakistani visa, and he arrived in Lahore with me, and on this trip we managed to reconnect him with his family home. But when we arrived in Lahore, he was like, dude, I totally get it, like it's Delhi. and like as we were driving through, he's like, yeah, this is like their equivalent of Khan Market. Like now we're in the equivalent of like Lachin's Delhi. Now this is Hoskas. Like now this is Meroli, like old like pre-Mughal bit with an old Sufi shrine and a bunch of like pop-up cafes. Now like this is, and then literally like, here's their Mughal emperor's tomb, Humayun's tomb and Jahangir's tomb. Like, this is their big Qila opposite the Jama Masjid. Like, and every single area like maps one-to-one on a different place. There's no city, like Delhi and Lahore are far more similar to each other than say Delhi is to Jaipur or Delhi is to Lucknow. Like you will immediately feel like, and I've heard that the same thing is Bombay and Karachi.
I've heard the same. In coastal cities, ports, important business centers.
Well, so I have something interesting to talk about, and again, I think growing up, the way I learned about the partition, apart from like my history textbooks, so that were maybe not as emotional or evocative, was like movies, right? There were like a lot of good Bollywood movies, and then recently, Riz Ahmed was in this movie called Mughal Mowgli that came out in 2020, and that was the first time I guess as an adult, I was revisiting the partition from like the lens of like, oh, now I'm old enough to maybe understand more complex emotions of what it was. And then through that, I read like some of Manto's work, because like in the movie itself, there's a big character based on Tauba Tek Singh. Like he's like this recurring fantasy that the lead has. And then Riz Ahmed also made The Long Goodbye, the album, and the short film that won the Oscar. And that was also sort of similar to like, oh, I'm from no man's land, they ask you where you're really from. And I think, what are other ways that people can engage with the history of the partition, like maybe more personal things with the partition that like is more accessible just to the average Indian now growing up?
I mean, I think that there's been a renaissance in art around it, particularly. So I think 2022 was the 75th anniversary of partition. And around that, there was a huge amount of new work in all sorts of artistic mediums. So like everything from like artworks to, Riz Ahmed's album, films. Like we even had a Doctor Who episode a few years ago called like Demons of Punjab, that was like Doctor Who going off to like Punjab in 1947. And like, that would have never happened a few years ago. And so I feel like there is all sorts of amazing new academic work, books, but I think that people are really trying to grapple with this. I think that we're now 8 years after the partition, and that generation is disappearing. And I think people are aware of that. People are aware that just like, a few years ago, the last few veterans of World War II began to disappear. They were, now you've got to be 100 in order to remember World War II at any sort of adult age. And I think we're getting to the beginning of that sort of memory with partition. We're losing the generation who remembers a united pre-partition subcontinent.
So do you think once it starts exiting living memory, do you think the role of history gets heightened? Or do you think, well, it's now so much in the past, at some point it gets forgotten completely, right? We're not talking about things that we choose what we kind of hold on to and say, oh, this is part of our subconscious, this is part of... At some point it stops mattering. Is there a point? And so does the role of history kind of, do you double down and say, oh, well, no one is alive to tell us these stories, hence we need to? Or do you say, well, it's faded and so, well, we move on?
I think so long as there are continued tensions between India and Pakistan, it's not ended. I think that it's an ongoing process, and I'm not sure that, to some extent, partition continues to happen now. Like, the divide continues to open ever further. And I think that, I think Anam Zakaria, who's a brilliant oral historian based, from Pakistan, but now based in Canada, she put it really well, where she noticed after working for 5 years interviewing families, and she was like, what was strange is that the generation who remember partition will very often have less bitterness about it, because despite having lived through the trauma themselves, they remember a time before the other became another, if that makes sense. They remember a time before the border was there, and before when either Pakistanis or Indians, they remember a time before they were another people, when they were just your neighbors. Whereas the younger generations harbor more resentment against the other side because they've just grown up with stories of the violence rather than stories about playing football matches or cricket matches in the gullies, or shared religious festivals, or a shared sense of community that existed. One of the things that has shocked me working in partition oral histories is quite how much, almost 90% of people who migrated, who I've spoken to, talk about being saved by their neighbors of the other religion, and talk about wanting to be reconnected with their neighbors from the other religion. And I think that there is this line that everyone loves to use, which is our neighbors turned on us overnight. Actually, that kind of I've not come across anyone who that's actually the stories. It's always some organized gang from another village. It's never actually, the neighbors always seem to help each other. And I think that the way that these stories are told with our neighbors turned on us overnight sort of obscures that fact and the kind of, human vulnerability of the whole thing, and how much. And so I mentioned going to Pakistan with Sparsh. It was extraordinary because we went to his ancestral home in Bela, which is just, 2 hours south of Islamabad. And we were asking around hey, his family had been saved by this this Muslim number there called Sher Khan. And we were this guy Sher Khan, he kept our family in the barn and kept all the Hindus in his barn, and he was sitting on the rooftop with a shotgun, basically being anyone who comes to attack the Hindus is gonna taste my shotgun. And the mob came, and he basically saves the whole Hindu community, and then manages to get them in a truck to the border and over to India. And so we go around the village, and this guy's I think that's my father. And so this guy takes us to his house. Sher Khan's now passed, but his whole family is still living there. And they've heard the other side of the story. They've heard that their father saved the Hindu community, but they've never actually met one of these guys. And here's Sparsh, the grandson of one side of the story and the son of the other, all meeting, and then they get chai, they suddenly Sparsh is garlanded, paraded in front of the village as our long lost brothers come home. Sparsh's granddad and the family of Sher Khan stayed in touch over WhatsApp until Sparsh's granddad passed away, after this reconnection.
Got it.
And Sparsh is now, I think he's managed to get another Pakistani visa recently, and he might be going to revisit these guys because he's going to Lahore for a couple of days, and was I'll pop in and say hi. And I think that there is this sense of these connections that, despite the horrific animosity and undermining of any peace process that is they're at the top layers of government, there is still this extraordinary like people to people ability to connect across these borders in a way that like a simple geopolitical reading would never tell you. And again, in a way that isn't there with other great conflicts.
Yeah,
Of course.
This point that you've mentioned about like the people who've actually lived the atrocities have much lesser bitterness than the ones who've just read or
Surprising,
heard
huh?
about it. That's so interesting. Because I was just gonna ask you a question, which is that when you are, it's also so important of how history is said, how the stories are told, in a way. Like the way you say it can either increase conflict or reduce conflict.
Yeah.
So it is so important to get it's actually a big responsibility in a way also to say a story in a particular way that is, because it can have far-flung impacts also, right? So, I mean, that's like, I think, a bit of a burden that any historian would have to deal with, while also keeping in mind that it's factually correct.
Yeah.
I think you can see that in the way that like these days, I mean, every country in the world is rewriting history textbooks, often for political purposes. Here, it's increasingly talking about kind of some eternal Hindu-Muslim conflict, and of course, you can equally read the history as very different from that. Likewise, in Britain, they're currently talking more and more about like this sort of white past that's kind of like untouched, despite the fact that Britain literally conquered the rest of the world, has been multicultural since then. And I literally found this out recently. Britain had an African governor in the Roman Empire before the first Anglo-Saxons sailed across the sea and migrated to Britain. So like these like you can pick and choose historical narratives, and I think that's quite dangerous. And which is why we need to have these conversations. Like so much of you can inject political ideology into history in sort of rather scary ways, but also history is the best way to combat that. To add complexity, to show how crazy and diverse and like bonkers the past was. Again, what the hell is the Sultan of Bengal doing with a giraffe? And again, and like if you like if you just read the history of like the Muslim rulers came from Afghanistan and took over, like that misses over a whole crazy world of internationalism, and like the fact that medieval Bengal was full of like Armenian traders, and like there were Ronin samurai coming around and hanging out in medieval Bengal. And there's so many more interesting stories in a sense that like you could tell about this region having always been incredibly cosmopolitan. And the story you want to tell, you can.
So is history more fact or more fiction? And it can't be, and whatever you say,
fact.
I'm going to push back.
No, so it's always fact, but the point is that if you pick and choose facts rather than giving the whole
fiction
breadth
then,
of
right?
story,
Then the second you pick facts, it's fiction.
Exactly.
So which is it?
The second you pick and choose what facts to say,
It's
is
fiction.
But you do, right? It's impossible to be
It's
absolute.
impossible. So is history fact or fiction?
No, it's biased facts, right? I think that's the best way to say it.
biased fiction, you mean?
No, it's biased fact because it's not. It's like it's rooted in reality. It's just how the reality is presented to me.
Yeah, it's like history happened. The facts are the facts. You can't like. I know we're living in the era of fake news, but like ultimately things happened, and the job of the historian is to tell this story in such a way that gives the greatest complexity. It's like you were mentioning physics earlier. Like ultimately. All physics equations, etc., are a model on trying to model the natural processes of the universe, and the best physics is the one that models reality the best. But ultimately, they are all models, and we're still, Newton's equations were later outdone by far more refined versions created by Einstein, and then since then there's been even more refined versions of these laws on trying to model the laws of physics. And I think to some extent, history is trying to do the same thing. You're trying to create the greatest model for understanding what happened and how to go about that. That's basically, I think, what we're trying to do. So it is fact in the same way that the laws of physics are fact. But we're if you find out that Newton's laws like don't work in all occasions and on a molecular level they're difficult, that doesn't make them kind of wrong. It makes them a good estimate for the time. If that makes sense.
That makes sense.
So
Also, like you discover new information every day.
Yeah.
I just want to say, sorry, not to break up here. Imagine the first guy who saw a giraffe, right? Just freak
Right?
the fuck out.
Like
Big ass neck.
So do you know, the Chinese get the giraffe and they think it's a dragon because they've read about dragons. They've never heard of giraffe. We have classic situation. Like Bengal, all of the records of this whole story got lost because, or like didn't survive because the climate in Bengal, there's lots of monsoon and then it's really hot and then it's really cold. And so the records have disintegrated over time. We don't have them. But we have the full correspondence from the Chinese court. And they like are gifted this giraffe and they're convinced it's a dragon and they're convinced, oh shit, this is what dragons look like. And like we have the entire reaction of the court written down, and like there's a bunch of Chinese scholars who've been like going through these records and like seeing different tributes given by other like kings and diplomatic like occasions. It's wild.
Yeah, it is. I mean, imagine you see a giraffe in the wild and you go back to your people and you're like, yo, I saw a horse with a big ass neck and it was like 20 feet tall, and they're like, this guy's bonkers, right?
He's
like,
the village loon.
Yeah, lock him up.
I know that like apparently like in medieval Europe, they had the same reaction to like rhinos.
Yeah.
So like these guys, because I think like some Roman emperor brought one to Rome, and then like for centuries afterwards, people were like, yeah, this one time they brought like an animal that looked a bit like an elephant, except it had armor and like the tusks were on its nose. And like, what kind of animal has armor?
Yeah.
And so you have these like medieval drawings trying to depict what a rhino might look like, putting armor on a kind of hippo. But like these guys don't know what they look like.
You know, like a small funny story over here. So one of my friends from Chile, he was visiting India, and we were traveling around Rajasthan. So we were going from Udaipur to Jodhpur by car, and on our way there were a couple of camels on the road. Obviously this guy knows what a camel is and what a camel looks like, but he was so fascinated to see one in like reality, even though he knows what a camel is. So it's just I was like, yeah man, it's a camel. What's the big deal?
Does everyone here think the camel's hump stores water?
That's what we were taught.
Yeah. Wait, do they not?
I don't know who.
No,
They do. No, they do. It stores energy.
Who thinks they do?
Let's
Wait,
look this
say
up,
something.
guys.
Yeah, like I'm.
Like if
Yeah, I was taught it's
prefaced it this
water.
way.
Yeah, I feel like had you not prefaced it as who still thinks that.
I still thought it like up until a month ago.
Yeah.
Actually store fatty tissue, not water, which is used as a
Why
source
are we
of
taught
nourishment.
this, bro?
You know what else we were taught? That bears sleep for like a month, bro. Like hibernation. Apparently
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
just not true. Apparently they don't sleep for the entire
Okay, well,
month.
like you're ruining my entire image of the world in this podcast.
I'm gonna look it up again just to make sure.
Surely, but why would we learn it? I swear we all had like an entire course on hibernation aged like
Yeah.
3. Like year 3, like there was definitely like a lesson where I learned what hibernation was. Like
Yeah, they just enter like a state where they're just like not fully unconscious.
Yeah, that is
similar
But they're not
right?
sleeping. They're just like chilling, dude.
they're
They're not-
hibernating. That's
the
what the word
They're
is.
hibernating.
Yeah, sure. They're like entirely conscious.
You're
and
making a
resting.
thing out of this.
No, bro, the
camel-
way it was described is like Winnie the Pooh's in his fucking night suit and going into the trunk and he's like napping for 6 months, and I was like, this fucking dude, no, he's just hanging out, man. He's just like watching TV or something. It's crazy. Even the camel thing, right? Like I'm so,
Camel
like,
thing is
no, even
missold.
and a lot of
It
animals
was
don't
missold.
hibernate. Like they just chill out, man. It's like what the fuck? Why did they lie to us?
primary school lied to us.
Yeah, really.
Because Aman taking the cause against for the bears.
Yeah, for the bears.
Have you discovered you've been wrong about something recently? Something that you believed for like all your life, and then,
I'm just trying to think. Like,
or what's the most surprising thing you've encountered on one of your travels of late?
I mean, surprising thing that I've encountered on travels is very easy, which was, dude, Janjira. Like Janjira, that's just like 2 hours south of here.
Yeah.
There's a full-on like Ethiopian kingdom on the coast of Maharashtra, and if you go to the Ellora caves, like
Yeah.
further inland, on the hill above the caves, like the caves get millions of tourists a year, right? And yet there's a tomb above the caves, literally like 5 minutes drive, could totally be on the tourist circuit if anyone like put a bit of investment there. Is the tomb of Malik Ambar, who is the Ethiopian slave who took over like the Ahmednagar Sultanate,
Damn.
fought with Shivaji's granddad against the Mughals, and like has a massive ass tomb. He's like the Ethiopian ruler of Maharashtra.
Whoa.
And like and then his like compatriots ruled in Janjira and created a mad-ass sea fort created by Ethiopian pirates that's also wild.
Yeah.
And like why are the coolest bits of like South Asian history and like Indian history like always not talked about. Like that's so cool.
That is cool.
But do you think it becomes cool because it's not talked about? And if it was,
I think it would still be cool if it was talked about.
Okay.
Like,
But you're right. It's less like interesting if I knew it when I was 5. But it is cool now that you've talked about it now, for sure.
like
Everyone's
Ethiopian
heading there.
pirates building a castle south of
Yeah.
Bombay. Like
Sick.
hell yeah.
South Bombay Ethiopian castle.
Yeah. It's literally like an hour from like Alibag.
You'll soon see some pop-up cafes in that now.
Just you wait.
some cafe.
Yeah. Ethiopian food is very similar to Indian food.
Yeah.
Like it's like conceptually, even like flavor-wise, like there's a lot of overlaps. And you saying that to me does make a lot of sense.
I want to ask you something. So I know, so obviously your father is also a prominent historian. I'm a big fan of his. I love his podcast. So you've obviously grown up in and around this environment of academia, and I'm sure like your travels to India as a kid also influenced that a lot. But at the end of the day, your family's influence or your parents, it can only go that far. To actually pick this path of becoming a historian, you have to have some of your own will and want also. So, like, what was it for you? I mean, why do this? I know you also studied for some time in Iran. Like, what made you take that decision and just go down this path?
Sure. So, like, I mean, there was definitely a very important role being played by the fact that my entire childhood was being dragged around like Rajasthani forts or like going to small towns in West Bengal in search of like Baal singers and stuff. Like, visiting the Theyyam in Kerala. Like a lot of my childhood was doing that kind of stuff. And that obviously has a massive influence. I think there's kind of two big turning points, I guess. One is we went on a kind of mad half-term holiday when I was in high school to Bamyan in Afghanistan, and that blew my mind. Yeah, like I was what, 17? My brother was 14, and we just like it was when things were kind of chill in 24.
So this was before they destroyed the.
After. So this was after. So Dad was writing a book called Return of a King. And it was based on the first Afghan war. So he'd spent like much of the last 2 years like traveling Afghanistan, like researching the archives there, like looking for old like Persian texts on this war that happened in the 19th century. And like he'd spent so much time there that he was like, okay, I should bring my family. And so we spent an amazing time in Bamyan visiting, like the Buddhas are gone, but like all the Buddhist caves with paintings and stuff are still there. And like there's amazing mosques, and like there's like extraordinary like Gandharan sculptures, and do you know what I mean? Like there's a huge amount that's still intact. And I think that trip blew my mind, so that when I reached school again, I started teaching myself Farsi. So I bought like a textbook online, and I was like, and the crucial thing was I was at boarding school at the time, and I was sharing a room with a guy called Cameron Holloway, shout out to him. He basically told me like, dude, this is gonna be like you're gonna try to teach yourself for like 2 days, and then you're gonna quit. Like, you're shit at languages, which really egged me on. And I was like, no.
Good job.
And then I like took some classes in Shahjahanabad and Old Delhi. And like gradually I just became a bit obsessed, and so like then studied Farsi at university, like spent some time in Isfahan and Mashhad in the universities there in Iran. So that was like one thing that definitely got me into like that kind of Persianate world and medieval India, because obviously like Persian was the language of history in medieval India, alongside Sanskrit. And then the second thing was during Project Dastaan, when we were going around, like, we would interview some like auntie in say like Patiala or something. She really wants to see this small town in what's now Pakistan. And I would spend a lot of those 3 years like going to these small towns in search of like abandoned heritage in a sense. So like we would spend a lot of time going to like small mandirs or gurudwaras in Pakistan, small abandoned mosques in what's now Indian Punjab. And like, there's extraordinary like 14th century, like obviously hugely important, but like the entire community vanished in 47 and it's falling apart. Lahore's main mandir, like Hanuman Mandir, it's still there, but like it's falling apart. Likewise, you go to like there's so many incredible dargahs in what's now the Indian side of Punjab that are basically abandoned, and yet have some of the most amazing frescoes and stuff. And so I think that got me really excited about how much insane heritage just hasn't been documented yet in this country. And like, yes, you've got all the ASI sites, but there's so much more. And I think that really taught me that. And since then, I guess one of the key things that I've begun getting excited about is these architectural masterpieces that challenge our ideas of history. So, you know, the temples of Pakistan, like, you know, when I was in Istanbul, I didn't manage to get in, but like I got obsessed with the historic synagogues of Istanbul. Again, we always hear about like, you know, Muslim Jewish violence, the fact that there are like 80 incredible Ottoman synagogues there. Like in Delhi recently, one of the things that I've been focusing a lot about is the temples built in the Mughal capital of Delhi. Essentially. So there are about 89 Mughal era temples that survive in Shahjahanabad. Wow. And it challenges all of our preconceptions about this stuff. Likewise, I was chatting to some a Parsi family recently, and they were like, yeah, like just near Bombay, like an hour from here, there's a Parsi temple that likewise dates from the reign of Jahangir. And they have a Mughal farman saying like, you're allowed to continue worshipping here so long as you pay all these taxes. But so like these stories that challenge our preconceptions of what these eras look like, I find really, really interesting. Likewise, yeah, when I was in Thailand, there's a palace. I was like, this looks weirdly Indian. So I started digging. I was like, I swear to God, this looks like, you know, an Indian palace and nothing like a Thai palace. Turns out it was built by all these guys from Golconda in Telangana. And all of these like, you know, Golconda was famous for its diamonds. And as a result, like all of these places across the world were seeing it as this incredibly rich center of culture. And so the king of Thailand built himself a kind of Golconda sort of medieval Disneyland, you know, like where he invited all these Golconda masons to help him build a palace that looked like the palaces of Hyderabad. And it's sitting there in a town called Lopburi, just like north of Bangkok.
Yeah, that's cool. That's fun. History is so fun.
You mentioned the first season being travel, and I know Rishabh and I had a conversation about this before the episode. You want to take that?
Yeah, it was, the thought came from, so I visited Muscat recently, and the first time that I'm traveling to that part of the world. So I was just curious, before my trip, in the lead up to the trip, I did a bit of reading on what's happened in Oman over the years. And I understood that there was two centers of power, and it was very interesting. Both coexisted, the Sultanate and the Imamate, and then one day, finally, the Sultanate took over. I learned that the Portuguese were there, the British were there. And I also learned that 75% of the population, they practice Ibadi Islam, which is not Sunni or Shia. And just these traits, it kept, anything that I read, it kept highlighting these traits, human traits of modesty and just restraint. And when I actually visited Muscat, I could see those traits actually, it's palpable in every interaction that you have. And that gave me a slight, I was like, okay, this is interesting. Little snippets of like little history lessons that we can do for ourselves before every trip.
Before traveling to a different country.
Traveling to any new place, or even a place that you visited maybe 10 times before. But I was just thinking of how can history become more accessible. It could be, if it going to Bali, like it could read up on what's happened over the centuries in that place. Is that something that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was just in Bali a month ago, and there's some extraordinary historical stuff there that, again, often gets overlooked and yet is so damn cool. There's these amazing, very early temples carved into a cliff face, a bit like Ellora, but like baby versions, not nearly as impressive as Ellora, but represent the moment that all these Hindus are sailing from around here to there and bringing the same sort of techniques that were used in carving the Elephanta caves and stuff, but to Bali. And, you know, that's why Bali's Hindu today, is all of this kind of influence of these like spice trades, you know, the spice traders traveling from that region to India and back again, or to China. And, you know, like it was, Bali in a sense was on the middle of those trade networks where if you were sailing a ship from India to China, you'd often stop around there. And so there's so much, and I think that once you begin to understand that, like, you know, it's an island that's placed on that trade route between the Spice Islands and India, and like all of these traders in the spice trade selling to both India and China were passing through it. It makes so much sense why the the culture is like it is, and why it often feels like a interesting mishmash between Indian and Chinese cultures, but also with its own very distinct identity. You know, like there's also this kind of local Balinese identity that is completely non-Indian, and you know the forms of Hinduism practiced there are not the sort of forms of Hinduism that anyone from here would recognize, and yet there is this kind of substratum of you know, this is ultimately Hinduism, and these are the same gods but worshipped in ways that we don't recognize. And
I had a question. Do you think the book that we have behind here, the one that you just put out, do you think that it is your attempt at reducing the tension levels between all of these countries?
To some extent, I think first and foremost is the idea that it's only through understanding all of these stories together, through understanding the different moments of border making, that we can really understand the whole story. But I think there's definitely 100% an attempt to show people's humanity throughout that, and how and human resilience throughout that. Again, like, you know, as I mentioned before on the show, you know, the aim here, I feel like I'm quite indicting of all sorts of political leaders, but I do have this definite belief in the kind of, you know, individual humanity of all of the millions of people who pushed through and survived this stuff. And I do blame, ultimately, there's a small group of political leaders who are around in the time whose decisions have completely catastrophic consequences. And yet I think there is also a sense that I wrote this book to answer the questions that I had when I landed in Lahore, which was like, you know, this is a closer city to Delhi,
sure,
and yet this is in a country that I have grown up in, living in Delhi, as seeing as the ultimate enemy, the people who are more kind of, you know, like who like hate us more than anyone else. And you know, like I grew up in Delhi. I remember when the Mumbai attacks happened, and you know, like we were like all evacuated from school, and like there were bomb checks in school because there was rumors that something similar was going to happen in Delhi. Like, you know, we suddenly, for the months after that, we would have like quite regular like terror alarms in addition to fire alarms and stuff like that, and like, you know, figuring out. So like, you know, I was growing up in Delhi throughout that era, and then to land in Lahore and see exactly the same city and exactly the same society, in some extent, I think shocked me so deeply, and that is what I've essentially tried to understand in this book.
Yeah, that's interesting. The Marvel show, Miss Marvel, I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah.
And I remember watching that show, and I loved it, and like representation matters and stuff, but the scene that really stuck with me was she visits her family in Pakistan, and they go to like the club, like their version of Willingdon Club, and they have to sit outside because she doesn't wear long pants, and you're not allowed to sit inside with long pants. And I was like, fuck, that happened to me, bro. That happened to me all the time. I was arguing with someone the other day because I was wearing slippers and they didn't let me sit inside at the club, right? And that's when I was like, shit, this is like this, you know.
It's the same.
It's the same, yeah.
The same, and so much more the same than like people tend to realize. And likewise, you know, like I was just in Dhaka. Dhaka is like Kolkata.
Yeah.
And like and even like, yeah, I feel like there is so much more that unites people than we tend to realize, particularly in this region.
Tell me one thing. While researching this book, I'm sure you've traveled around this whole the subcontinent, and you've gone through to places which are not, say, frequented by tourists, or I mean, I don't want to call you a tourist because you've been in India all this while, but or by foreigners. And let's say like the places like the usual haunts, like the Humayun's tomb or Taj Mahal, fine, they are used to having foreigners around. But when you go to these places and you're trying to research and you're asking questions, have you ever felt any form of animosity from people? Like, at the end of the day, you do have Anglican roots, you know. I mean, no offense, but like there is this bit of like a hatred towards the colonizer. So did you ever feel any form of that coming out today from when you're going to these places?
I think that, you know, like India is an amazing country that I've lived in all my life, and and India is an incredibly generous place. Like, you know, I think that to some extent, you know, India is now a rising power, kind of, you know, people aren't thinking about that every day. But I think what you do get is when other Brits come and they don't know this history, and, you know, like someone comes and they try to persuade like Indians that like, the British rule was a great thing and like have never heard of Jallianwala Bagh, like, that's just offensive as hell. But like, by and large, I think that there's been it's a wonderful city and people don't hold resentment in that same way. They will talk about British rule and the British, but I don't think that's ever held against me personally in much the same way that, Brits today tend to not hold the crimes of the Nazis and the Third Reich against like, a German today, and and there's all sorts of understanding. But if someone ever tried to justify what happened in the 1940s, then they like people would be like, what the hell? And so I think that like that's the response. Like I think that far too often you get Brits coming out here who don't know this history. And I know that the same response happens in Ireland. Irish people have moved on. They, frankly, got a more thriving economy often than like Britain does these days. And yet, like, when someone from London arrives and is saying like, and like has never heard of the Easter Rising and like knows nothing about this history, it's like Britain, I think, does an incredibly bad job about teaching its population about its own imperial history, which is ultimately the most important thing that Britain needs to be aware of, because there's so I think that like that would be my answer. Like by and large, obviously there's all sorts of like privileges that I get, like with my skin color as well, and like that's definitely a thing. I try to be like upfront about that and not take that like and I think that people appreciate the way that I respond to this kind of stuff and try to be open about it, but also not like wear it on my chest and go around like but yeah, like I mean, it's definitely a complicated legacy, but one I think because I've grown up here, it's kind of been the norm to me to some extent. I've been having these conversations since I was 8.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So and I don't know, like I remember I think aged 8. What was the girl from Rang de Basanti? Because that was
the girl.
The girl, there's the white girl in Rang de Basanti who like joins their group, and
that
was always like that was always like me in that makes sense. That was like how I was like understood within my like friend circle.
I had a question for you that I think would be interesting for you to answer. Okay, so 3 years ago on the 8th episode of this show, we did an Independence Day special, and it generated one of the most iconic moments in our show's lore, where Jay and I, the co-host who's not present today, battled in a great Indian quiz. So Aman and Sid were asking us questions about India, and they started with a easy one, right? Like a layup. Yeah, a layup or whatever. What do you call it? A swinger, a home run hitter. It was how many states are in India?
How many states are there in India? And bonus points if you can tell me how many union territories are there.
I feel like they keep adding states.
They do, like that's the thing that I keep saying. They keep
I'm an
adding
OG states guy.
Yeah.
Because
So
your ignorance is the government's fault.
yeah. Now it's like Wednesday, new state. Like what am I supposed to do? Keep up with?
It's like planets,
Like just get it right the first time.
Yeah.
It's only like one new state. Yeah.
Dude, I don't know.
How many union territories are there?
And states.
Oh, how many unions and states?
States. Give me the states, and if you give me how many union territories also, I'll give you a bonus point.
Okay, cool.
Can we? Okay, for the so
Can
right
we
now
confer?
we're 2 all.
Yeah.
But in this case, can we do whoever's closer, because I'm pretty sure
I'm down.
both of us might
Yeah,
get
I
it
can.
wrong.
I can.
Fine. So
I'm down.
I mean, the thing is, I have questions like that later, but
You might as well, right?
But closest to how many union territories there are is like a bit ridiculous.
I mean, it's all the right answer.
And,
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's just go.
So what is right and wrong anyway?
Exactly what
Like,
you
let's just okay, you know what? I'm gonna throw out just a little thing.
Okay.
Bro, don't do that. I saw your answer. That's not 27 and 5.
Okay, wait.
26?
How many
29.
union territories, Jay?
28.
28.
Okay, I said 67. So I said 67. I thought it was combined with the
Shut up.
with the Union territories as well. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of, and I was like, okay, 50, but
Okay, that was the question.
So we're putting my
We
boy
both
Jay on
had
blast.
whiteboards down, so I wrote 27. I forgot about one. And Jay on his wrote 67. Okay, but I want to see if he was actually
57 or 67?
67.
67 something, yeah.
I wanted to see if he was actually a visionary, because in your book you claim that there were 5 partitions that brought us from a much larger entity to our 28 states now. So can we do the math and see if he was actually right about 67 states existing at some point?
Oh, that would be difficult. You're gonna have to figure out how many states are in modern day Myanmar. Like,
We don't know.
So obviously there are 12 countries that descend from what was once the Raj.
Sure.
So you've got Yemen, Oman, the UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, and Myanmar, and they were all part of the Raj in different ways. So obviously, so the Raj consisted of both like directly ruled British India, but also like princely states and protectorates. So Nepal was far loosely controlled compared to say like Jaipur and Jodhpur. But I mean, in the 1930s, India had not just like 67 states; it had, I think, 567.
Oh.
So I think he's 500.
He's
off.
closer than I was.
Back in the day.
Back in the day.
But I think like famously, I think Gujarat had like, I think Kathiawar in Gujarat had like 250 of them, because some of them, like the Gujarat ones, were just like a world unto their own. There was a state called Vajanunes, which was famous for basically being like smaller than quite a lot of parks in the country, and it was basically one guy's like big ass estate, and they classified it as a princely state, despite the fact that it was basically like an estate.
But no gun salute.
No gun salutes, but like this guy, you could fit the entire state population in a single photograph. So you've got him, you've got like the chief revenue officer, you've got the 12 people who aren't working for the state government, you've got the fire official, and then like his 6 servants. Like, that's the state population.
You know, like there are a lot of modern day like micronations now. Like there's this one guy on YouTube who decided to create a micronation around this. I don't know if you guys have seen this.
Yeah, I've seen this.
His iron statue in his city, and it's called Iron Land, and then like all his subscribers are citizens of Iron Land or whatever.
Oh no, I've seen one where it's literally like a big giant park, but when you enter it, you're in a different country where there's no like laws around drugs and stuff like that. So then people just go there and they're in a different country technically.
But
so
they do like a micronation convention where all these micronation rulers come and they compete in the micronation games. And the guy from Iron Land, the guy from Iron Land won like a gold medal in shot put, because everyone else who has a fucking micronation is like some
Why isn't this thing getting like massive sponsorship? Come on, let's go. Like,
and he does, because he's getting a lot of following.
ESPN needs to go.
Like random small nations will be like, yeah, we recognize Iron Land as a legitimate country or whatever.
Other illegitimate countries are
No. Like legitimate countries, just like smaller countries will be like, who just are like, whatever, have social teams or whatever, are like, yeah, we'll recognize you and you can come meet our ruler. Great, man, this is just...
Have you heard about that place in, I think it's like the Egypt-Sudan border? There's a place which is like not claimed by either country, because like there's one possible border which like gives Egypt a kind of, very interesting like mineral wealth, and then there's a different border that gives like Sudan that mineral wealth, but if you get the mineral wealth, then you don't get this other bit, and so both of them want the ones with minerals, and so both ones are desperately not claiming this other patch of land, and it's like one of the only bits of earth that is not claimed by any country. It's like this small bit of desert. There's absolutely nothing there, but so apparently one of these Micronation dudes went out and was like, I'll take it. Like, it's not claimed by anyone else.
There was a kid who did this on the Croatian border with some country, I'm forgetting, and he claimed this and he got a lot of following, and then like the Croatian army just came and were like, get the fuck out of here, because it was just like a disputed piece of land that no one had claimed on paper, and this like American was like, yeah, it's mine now, and they were like, they all pulled up with guns and like, get like, fuck off.
I love those videos on YouTube which talk about those conclaves, and I think they're called conclaves or enclaves, and it's essentially like, say this is the country, but within that is another country, and within that is another country.
Oh.
Like if this is country A, then this is country B, and this is again country A, and within that is again country B.
Oh.
So I think India, Bangladesh used to. I think it was resolved like 20 years ago or something, but they used to have the only like fifth order enclave. So like A within B within A within B within A, and like and it was just this one poor farmer.
Oh no!
Who like was just stuck. And in order to get to school, his kids to school, he had to pass through through Bangladesh
5 times,
then pass through India, then pass through Bangladesh, then pass through India, then pass through Bangladesh. And it's like, and so finally, I think they India and Bangladesh a few years ago did a deal where it's like, we're gonna sort this thing out. Like we're gonna make sure that we keep the same percentage of land, but like we can't have like there's some poor farmers
he's carrying like a thick ass passport.
Yeah, everyone who's stuck in these enclaves, I think, was allowed to choose which country that they would become citizen of. And like so, and it's now all resolved, and it's considered like one of the best like border the best like and most civil like border resolutions of the 21st
gold
century.
standard
Because both
land swapping,
but like where both governments were happy, populations of both countries were happy. No one in India was like, oh, we're losing land, because they made sure that the same percentage of land was given, but like these farmers actually had their lives saved to some extent. Because
that is insane.
Like and in order to get 4 border checkpoints to get to school. Like,
my question is, how does it get so convoluted to begin with?
Can you imagine, like, you know, like when your grandparents are like, oh, to get to school we had to like go through the mountains. Like,
that's nothing.
Like these kids are gonna have like the craziest. Like, they're gonna be telling their grandkids,
land border crossing.
Like I had to pass through like 5 international borders to get to school.
How far was your school? Oh, like right here.
How does it get to that stage? I guess that's the more interesting question.
So I'm not sure the exact reason. So it was to do with the borders between the princely state of Cooch Behar and British India. So when Cooch Behar had all of these like estates basically that weren't contiguous to their actual borders. It was a princely state. And so they had all of these like random bits of farmland that when the British recognized Cooch Behar as a state, they were like, okay, you can keep your farmland because it's owned by the royal family, right? And as a result, when the British India area became Bangladesh, but Cooch Behar became part of India, and so that's how it happened. So those enclaves were essentially random bits of farmland owned by the royal family in the 1820s or whatever it was. But like 100 years later, it created a whole problem. But I'm like,
that explains 1 or 2 levels, but like 5 levels is
5
crazy.
levels is crazy.
Like it explains the first 2. I can get that.
It has to be concentric circles.
Yeah,
right,
like
for
it's
it
just
to be
like
5 levels of.
Like it explains the first 2 levels. The 3 I can't imagine. Like even if I had to make up a story, oh, this happened, it just doesn't make sense.
There's a local legend that it was to do with the Raja was playing some game with the British authorities, and they were like gambling, and they were like, you get this, but like I feel like that feels like a like local legend rather than necessary, but the
it might be very close to the truth. It might be very close to the truth. There's always some crazy guy.
Diwali, everyone's like gambling. You get a farmland.
So there's a game we play on the show a lot that we didn't invent at all. But essentially, 4 of us will have a chit that says like the name of a country, and 1 of us will just have the word imposter. And the point of the game is to say a word or phrase that clears you. So if it's the US, you say something like eagle or freedom, etc. But you can't be too specific, because the imposter, if they manage to guess what the country is, they still end up winning. So you have to give like a clue that's a little bit vague but still clears you in everyone else's mind. And at the end of 2 rounds, we vote for who we think is the imposter.
Okay.
Yeah. When we play it, you'll understand.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I feel like if I'm gonna be the imposter, you're gonna figure out within seconds.
Oh, okay.
The thing is, you have the advantage of us maybe not knowing as much as you. So you could say something completely random about some country that we've gotten that we would not even know.
That's to his detriment again. That's to his.
Then you think that he's the imposter.
Then you think he's the imposter.
So you got to read the room and then say something that's fitting.
So it's good.
Let's just we'll go. You'll pick it up. Yeah. Let's just hope you're not the imposter in the first round.
And you know the broad category is countries, so you know you have to say something that's like
about a country.
Are we doing country and then are we doing like Indian food?
Yeah, I think we should country and Indian
So
food.
first, let's do country.
You can pick.
Oh, which one should it? No, I want this.
Just take any of them.
All right, guys, this is Imposters Country Edition, and my word is transition.
What's the word I'm looking for?
The phrase.
Warfare.
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 I'm gonna say, think about it, suit. Got it?
Not at all, but let's see.
I wonder why you didn't get it.
Tusk.
Okay.
Papaya.
Transition, huh?
If you don't get that, bro, I don't know.
I mean, it's between the two of them.
Yeah. I just don't want to give it away.
Yeah.
I literally said tusk.
Box. You've seen the movie about the box, no?
What? Ingredients.
Yeah. That's good. A gay one, man. Like so clearly you, bro.
Yeah.
Warfare and
I know.
ingredients. Okay.
He called mystery box.
No, it's very obvious. Okay.
Yeah, it's damn obvious.
Yeah, it's
bro.
very obvious.
Yeah, super obvious, man. I'll say tropical.
Oh, and that's not general, no?
I mean, I'm clear. So it's fine.
He is clear.
I'd say red and green. I think he was
Waves.
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 Banging. So we know the
Wait.
imposter.
What was your first word?
Suit.
Okay,
Yeah.
you're clear.
I'm chill, bro. It's
Yeah.
him for sure.
Yeah.
Like 100%.
Suit is okay. I just got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, so we'll
3,
vote 3, 2, 1.
What do I even say? But I wanna-
Warfare.
Wait, figure it out.
guess,
Try
let me
figure
guess.
it out.
Warfare, like, I don't know, like,
He's just guessing that every country's had some.
like at some point.
There's been a war.
You're not wrong with like
Yeah, like there's some,
Yeah.
No, don't
What
think
was
of
the
yours,
second one
think
you
of our
said?
clues.
Yeah. Of course,
Ingredients
I'm thinking of-
ingredients.
I was thinking of like cuisine or something generic.
Yeah,
like,
What is
well,
ingredients, bro?
like the specific ingredient. Okay, wait. I have two.
That's not a specific
What are the words you remember?
I have two things, two countries in mind. You said waves, waves, and what was the first one?
papaya.
Bro, just think of my first clue. It should give you everything.
Transition.
Yeah,
Don't give him so
transition.
many hints also. Yeah,
I
bro,
did
make
not
your
get
guess.
that.
Yeah, transition is the easiest one.
Yeah, it's crazy. Crazy beginning.
You're mad or what?
I do not get this.
Just chalo, say na.
You said red and green. I'm going off that, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna guess like Bangladesh,
Oh no, I wasn't
Or
talking about
Kenya.
flag.
He was talking about the curry.
Yeah.
Thailand.
Thailand.
Yeah.
Transition,
And why transition?
No transition.
Oh,
bro.
oh, it was a generation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come on.
That's a good clue. No, he clears you
Yeah.
immediately. Even
Yeah.
suit was damn
Suit.
good. Suit and tie.
Thai.
Dude, that's too
I didn't get suit. I was wondering about you, dude. Like,
Suit and tie.
yeah, suit
Yeah,
and tie is
so
good.
this is the way you gotta play the
You
game.
could have said
Don't give it
suit
to him.
accompaniment or
Bro,
something.
I got clear. Now that's what
Yeah.
is important.
Waves and papaya.
What was your
okay,
second
sure.
guess? What were your first
I
two
was like
guesses?
Bangladesh and Kenya because Kenya flag is also red and green.
Red and green
And
was a
like-
good clue.
And you said tusk.
Yeah.
So I thought like
Yeah.
Kenya, like
Yeah.
animal, rhino, something.
But like there was like papaya, there was
What was tusk in Thailand?
Elephants.
elephants.
Oh, okay. Well, rhinos is a horn, not a tusk. My bad. But yeah,
All right, let's do round 2. This might be more fun. This is Indian food.
it's hard to be an imposter with countries. Yeah, like
It's really hard, yeah.
Yeah.
You can imagine.
This is good. I like this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
it's
super
really
fun game. And I'm actually really happy Jay's not here. Although I love him. Because regardless of how many times we play this game, I can practically say the word and Jay will still claim that I'm the imposter. That is the most frustrating thing in the world.
Aman is a really competitive guy. Like when
That's why when he was rushing to get it, I was like, bro, hold on. What was your first word again?
And I clear, like literally I can basically say everything to clear myself, give the word away, and they're like, nah, this guy can still be imposter.
because the
Because
thing
you
is,
pulled some
because
stuff
we've
in the
had
past.
we've had games where
I
he's
know
been
the time
so
when you said
good.
one more
Where he's
round.
been you've been so
I know that.
bloody slick with in those
Then let me
games.
enjoy the game, bro.
Like it's worrying, Aman, how easily you can lie to us.
Yeah.
Please don't give me the imposter again. Please don't give me imposter again.
No, I want the other one.
No, now you were that one, bro.
Okay, Aman, now you start.
North Indian.
Spherical.
Spherical.
Spherical, okay.
Hot.
Okay. Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay. Like,
Yeah, it's a gamble one. You know? It's a gamble
it could
one.
be hot or cold.
Onion.
That's Vegas.
It goes with everything.
Well,
But I think it's fine.
I'll be hard pressed for you to find a hot North Indian food that doesn't have onions in it.
No. This one is, come on, you.
Yeah,
It's specific.
I mean, literally every fucking.
No, it's specific.
Okay.
Come on.
Well, let's see.
Okay.
It's it, bro.
No, bulbous.
He said spherical, you're saying bulbous.
But
Sure.
okay, I'm not saying anything more.
I mean, cap, bro. It's said. I'll say.
I don't want to give it away.
Protein.
Okay.
I said spherical the first time.
Yeah.
Now I'm saying repeatedly spherical.
Yeah, you're clear, bro, already.
Huh?
No, that's my second one.
Yeah, got it.
You can't
You gotta give another
word.
word.
I'm giving a little more information. It's repeatedly spherical.
I think
Yeah, it's good.
It's fine.
You're clear on my head, so you can
He's
say
a
another
game
two if you
master,
want.
right?
Yeah.
he's a what?
Yes. This is a great
Game
gag.
master.
He's a game master.
Go ahead. Say the.
Repeatedly spherical.
Hey, that's a no.
cop-out.
If you know, one of them don't know that.
Yeah, we know one of them don't know.
I know it's correct, but like play the game better.
Do you think it's okay to say that?
I feel that's a cop out.
It is him. I think he's an imposter, but give him a better chance, Chal.
I
Okay.
think you're the imposter.
No,
But This
dude.
was crazy, bro.
Hollow.
Sure.
Hollow.
Let's go with sweet.
Fried.
I said onion.
Yeah, I said onion.
We
Yeah, I feel like we know.
Do you want to guess?
Okay, I'll give you one more word. Maybe
Maybe
you
hot,
can guess.
sweet.
I said
Right.
fried. And
You said fried?
yeah. Isn't it?
Bro, it's
Yeah. Why
Sure,
not?
okay, yeah.
Why not?
Objectively fried.
Yeah.
Why you?
Okay,
What do you have? One second.
Combination.
Combination. Okay.
Combination. Okay.
Combination.
So the reason I said sweet, when you said spherical, then repeatedly spherical, I was like, surely jalebi or something.
Yeah.
That's what. Yeah.
Like, I was like, okay.
But that's a spiral. It's
Yeah.
it's spherical.
Okay, so
Something like that.
I think there's some good clues. You could get it. Like there's.
Should we repeat our clues?
Yeah.
We'll repeat
Yeah.
our clues.
I want to say mine again. It's repeatedly spherical.
Yes.
Hey,
My clues were
North Indian.
North Indian and what did I say? North Indian and protein.
Protein.
Yeah, okay.
Spherical and hollow.
Spherical and hollow.
Onion and fried.
bulbous and combination.
Bulbous in combination. This is some mad curry.
Delhi.
Delhi. Okay, is this chart?
And what you said,
No.
we said it's a
Close.
combination.
You said hot, and we
That's
all
a
said
big
it's
clue.
okay, good on hot. So
yeah,
good on
okay.
That's a big clue that it's a combination. This
Is
and
this like a kind of like a puri or a chole bhature?
Shit, I'm starving now. Man, thank you so much for being on the Having Said That show, Sam. Before you leave, we love to get an item for our shelf from each guest that comes on. Do you have anything for us?
Sure. I mean, I've been on the road, but I brought that a signed book. Which
Rishabh already has a signed copy and
Yeah.
he's getting an exclusive double sign.
well, an
double sign.
inscription on
Hey,
top of
why don't you sign mine 3 times then?
And add one to mine.
to Sid, right? What do you want the inscription to be?
Yeah, to Sid, yeah.
I collect signed books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the most effort you've gone through to get something?
Get a
signed?
signature. I got a lot of cool signatures at like LA
Thank you, man.
Times Book Fest, and I was gonna buy the book to ask Sam to sign it, but my parents got the
I
sign
flew in
it
straight from
yesterday.
Dhaka, so I got your thing when I was like coming
Awesome.
in from Dhaka, and I was like, okay, like
I have a signed book by Yuval Harari also.
Yeah,
That's
that's
nice.
sick.
That
Me
was
too,
a-
man. I bought one for my dad.
At the Sapphire thing.
No, I bought it in New York. I bought Nexus. Oh no, it's not Nexus. Homo Deus or whatever. his
Well, the most
secret-
effort I've gone through for a sign is chase a guy for 2 years and get him on my podcast.
Oh,
And then get a signed book.
Well done.
there you go.
Thank you.
thank you, Sam.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Sam. This was such a great episode. Guys, please go and check out Shatterland. It's an amazing book.
In
go
bookstores.
read, go support.
Everywhere, yeah.
Yeah, in bookstores everywhere, online. Just get your copy. And Sam, anything you want to end this episode on?
No, I mean, yeah, I'm Travels of Samwise on social media, so
Yeah.
come say hi, and also just thanks for having me on the show. This was so fun.
Thank you so much, Sam.
I was wild in the winter looking for you. Why do I get this since I know you? Why am I be the paranoia? Hiding but now you got me.